Welcome to the Writer Reads Flash Fiction, another 365 days of flash fiction, month 3, day 30, The Landing Alliance. Abigail looked at the burning sky. Whole swathes of it billowed with red and gold flame, the price of re-entry. If the ship didn't slow soon, it would mean the end of the world. The air thundered and concentrated points of flame appeared along the ship's edge. The wind roared around Abigail, whipping her hair over her face. Abigail raised one hand to wipe it from her eyes, and another to call the wind, summoning it from its aimless churning and twisting it into a funnel. Hot air goes up, not down, she said, swirling her hand over her head to shape the air so it ran an endless circus that would fit the base of the ship, polishing it clean as it swirled along it. She knew the air would rise past the star-faring vessel, but first it would hit the bottom of it and push against the forces pushing it down. After that, it would slip up and over the ship's sides, rising to fill the space above it. And maybe it would dissipate after that. Abigail hoped so. They'd be in for shocking weather if it didn't. The only flaw in her plan was that she was one, and alone. And directing the wind took energy. Directing it over time could take more energy than she had. It was still worth the gamble. If she slowed the ship, if her world lived on after the magic had drained her to a husk, it was worth it. A presence came to stand at her side, and Abigail risked a glance toward it. Jonathan, Asher, and Tintergell raised their hands to steady the wind, the air around them growing calmer as they repeated the spell that had seemed 10,000 times too boring in the classroom. Abigail didn't think any of them were finding it boring now. She raised her eyes back to the ship and lifted her other hand. "We need to cool it," she told the others, knowing at least one of them could summon the wind from further off. "You want me to call the ice giants?" Abigail sighed. No way known did she want the ice giants called. The debt would be enormous. Without them, though. "Call the giants," she ordered, "and pray the debt is not too great." Several snorts greeted that, and she realized more than Jonathan, Asher, and Tintergell had come. The pressure of the wind grew more focused, and its touch took on the feel of ice. "Do we need the giants?" someone asked, and was answered by someone else. "Their magic is stronger. We need them if we're to save the forest and the lands below." "Then you need us too." The voice was so unexpected that Abigail almost lost control of the wind. "After all," the voice continued, "you're fighting to save our homes too." The elders had been trying to speak to the neighboring elves since the colony had been founded. This was the first they'd heard them speak more than a threat. Looking up, she saw the ship had gotten bigger, but that the sky no longer burned. Ice formed and melted on its hull, the resulting droplets turning to mist soon lost in the maelstrom. The ground shook, but Abigail did not look toward it. It shook again, and the elves cursed. The humans cursed too, as mighty pillars of stone rose out of the ground, forming a frame on which the ship could land. "Tell them to cut their power," a voice boomed. "We will bring them in from here." They would? And since when did the giants know anything about spaceships? Her headset crackled as the watch officer on communications duty acknowledged the ice giant's request. Magic ran over her skin, causing the headset to fizz in protest, and Abigail hoped she didn't break another one. Technology was in short supply and poor repair, and, judging from the ship's condition, she doubted it would help them. Just how hard had it fought to reach their world? More magic rose, misting from the ground in a tangible wave. Abigail's headset shorted, emitting small flashes of light. She cursed. The giant rumbled with amusement, keeping its eyes on the ship it was settling into the cradle of stone he and his people had built. "Do not fret. You will not need another." Abigail's heart sank. She'd known there would be a price, but had hoped it wouldn't be this one. "How many?" she asked, her voice dull with disappointment. The giant reached down and laid its hand on the ground so she could step into its palm. 10 from you, 10 from the elves, and 10 from those aboard the ship." "They'll fight you," she told him, buffeted by guilt and relief as Jonathan, Asher, and Tintergell stepped up to join her. The giant chuckled. I think not. He glanced at the village leader. Relay the request. There was movement among the elves, protests and murmurs of comfort and farewell, and Abigail and her friends were joined by 9 unimpressed elves. The 10th to step regally onto the giant's palm, crossed to stop in front of her. My people owe you their lives, she said, and took Abigail's hand in her own. This is a small price to pay for saving them. Zulea! The elven leader was outraged, but the elf raised Abigail's fingers to her lips and kissed her knuckles. Thank you. The ship took longer to decide until the giant leader said, It does not do to keep the dragons waiting. And that was all it took. 10 came out of the ship, faces shining with excitement and eyes alight with adventure. 6 more from the colony joined them, and the giant rose to its feet, careful not to unbalance those it held in its hand. Make an alliance that lasts, he instructed, and inclined his head toward the people in his hand. Their lives are forfeit if you do not.